hour together. It's going to be somewhat interactive. There will be a quiz. And I'm telling you that now so everyone stays awake and I have your anxiety just at that kind of good level. You're going to want to pay attention, thinking you're proving some things I'm saying, you're not. But hopefully you're going to learn something new. You're going to walk away feeling a little bit more knowledgeable and positive about how this chapter can be the best chapter, and I authentically believe it, of our lives. For over 1,000 years, the average life expectancy was 18 years old. You can see that this only changed recently. One of the things I want to mention is the years that we've added are not so much at the end. The years we've added are in the middle, and they're bonus years. And we're in them now. We're in this time in life where we have choices that no generation before has had. In the 1930s, during the Depression, Social Security was enacted really to move people out of the workforce so that younger people could have jobs. I mean, that's very basically what was happening. 65, now you know, why was 65 chosen? Because Bismarck. That is no good reason. I mean, these things you read about, it's like, really, that's how it happened? So, in the 1880s, Otto von Bismarck created the first pension plan in Europe, and he selected 65 as the marker of old age because at that time, people lived to their 40s. So in the 1930s, seriously, our government, we looked around and we said, well, there's a pension plan in Europe at 65, let's make it 65, and guess what? How do you think, what do you think the life expectancy was in the 1930s? You think it was 65? 60. It was 60, yeah. They're not going to make it, really. You're never really old. What do I mean by that? Okay, so I'm one of the only people here, probably, I won't make anyone else admit it, who reads AARP. There was a very interesting article recently.
Yeah.
There was a study of 1,800 people, and they asked them all, at what age is a person old? So they asked people in their 40s, at what age is a person old? People in their 40s said, 63. Okay, if you're in your 40s, 63 is old. So 63 makes sense. If you ask people in their 50s, what do you think? 68. If you ask people in their 60s, and this is the same time they're asking people, right? It's 73. If you ask people in their 70s, it's 75. We're never there. There's no there, right? How many times you speak to someone who's older who says, I don't like to hang around with those old people. I'm not them. Now, we all look in the mirror and have that experience of, or maybe it's just me, of looking and saying, who is that person? Because I see myself like I did years ago. I'm that same person inside. And that continues. So, really, society is shifting, and you're only as old as the perception, right? And perception is reality. So you're never really old. Life is cyclical. Live it abundantly. So what do I mean by this? We have always lived in three primary chunks. First part of our life, we get educated, then we have a family and work, and then there's leisure. We've been taught that life is linear. And I don't know how many of you can relate to this, but you probably don't think that, until I pointed out, that that's sort of what we assume. If I work hard at school, I'll go to the right college, I'll make the right connections, I'll get the right job, I'll meet the perfect partner, have the perfect children, I'll have multiple professional promotions because it keeps going that way, and I'll have the perfect retirement. We no longer have to live in chunks. We can live in chapters. So I like to think about our lives like a story. And it's made up of chapters. And each chapter has a theme, and it certainly has characters in it. And all of these things shift. So if I'm saying live life in a cyclical way, you might say, okay, but that's really scary because change is really hard. Right? So don't worry. Point number 3 is called Quiet the Gremlins. When you think for a moment about some change that you're either considering now or have been considering. So get something in your mind. And when you've been held back, there are voices that we all have a board of directors in our head. And there's usually a predominant voice that says, Barbara, are you going to talk in front of your friends and classmates? You could embarrass yourself. No, danger. Do not do that. Bad idea. We all have these messages. Think about what is the message that you're hearing that's holding you back. We need to get really clear about how to say no. And we can do that by conducting what I call a PreMortem. It's taking the time to look at what constitutes your life, our currency, and I know there's a lot of folks in the financial services industry, and I would challenge you to think about people's currency is really their time and their energy. That's what we live by. And how are you investing that time and energy? So we can all do it in different ways. It could be 15 minutes. My husband Scott and I are taking a year. We're in a slow boat. We're moving to Italy for a year. Call it the power of the pause. And we are taking a gap year. We figured, why should it just be for kids? You know, our youngest is in college, 2 are out of college, and we're going to go there and immerse in a new culture and a new language and learn new things. And together, he's 54, I'm 51, we're 52 and 55 when we go. We're going to figure out what we want to do when we grow up, because we have a whole other adult lifetime. And no one has written it for us. We get to do it. So for us, at least, we're doing something daring, which is opting out. He works for Morgan Stanley, a company some of you may have heard of. Has anyone in that company ever done this? No. Did they make it easy? No. They said it couldn't happen. It just, no. And he said, we're going. So we're going. Now, fortunately, he's very valuable, and I think somehow it's going to work. But, you know, also, you know, I'm leaving my work. We're leaving a lot and taking the risk, because for us, we feel like it's going to pay off for the rest of our lives. All right, so if you're never really old, and you can see life as a series of chapters that you get to be the author of, even though there are constraints, and then you can understand what holds you back, what are those messages, so that you can quiet them, and you can conduct a PreMortem. What's the 5th point? The 5th point I want to tell you about is actually the 1st point, and that is getting in game shape for your life, is what I call it. But one of the challenges is in our society, you know, now that I've lived in California for 30 years, but I'm also a New Yorker, our society wears busyness like a badge of honor. When you see someone now and you say, hi, how are you? The response, people feel a pressure to be like, oh, I'm really busy. Here's all the things that I'm doing. And busy is a 4-letter word. When people hear about others being brave enough to be clear about, oh, you know what, I've made a choice not to be so busy in X, Y, Z. I wish I could be like you. And yet, we have this culture that's busy. You know, again, it goes back to the perception that becomes our reality. And so what I'm asking you to do today is to reconsider your perceptions about what it is to be 50 plus right now in our history.